Welcome to the set of my story. Have you noticed the walls behind me? When we started the movement of the My Story after a dream was realized after the passing of my husband, the walls were blank. It was a blank canvas. To date, the walls are filling up with amazing storytellers. To date, the walls are filling up with amazing storytellers, and today is no different. On set today is an incredible woman who I call part of my village, an anchor in my life, a superwoman, a super mom, the wife of one of the most smartest men I know, an incredible daughter, a great sister, an amazing friend. She wears many hats, the founder of a great organization that we're going to tell you about later. Welcome to the couch and the set of my story, Rhonda Julie Nelson.
Wow, thank you, Rhonda, for that incredible introduction. I struggle to recognize myself in there, but also, like Mark would say, a little bit of Hollywood. But thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto this set. Thank you for this amazing, beautiful platform for women, by women, and spreading hope through storytelling.
I like that. You're welcome. You're very welcome. And so, Karen, you know this platform is about great love, great loss, and great hope. And you, as this woman, have experienced many of the above. Tell us your story.
Yeah, where do I start? I guess as I thought about this, I thought to touch on losses that I've experienced as a married woman, as an adult woman. And one of the probably more profound of those losses was a miscarriage after our second child, our son Daniel. Yeah, and I experienced that particular loss as quite a lonely loss, an unseen loss, as compared to other losses perhaps. So when one loses a baby to miscarriage, it's not like people knew this child that you carried in you. And in that respect, it's an unseen loss.
Karen, just on that note, so all of a sudden, miscarriage has been brought to light where women don't talk about it, people don't understand the loss of something that's not there. So, and you get it, and you creating this story, and you bring to light the loss of a baby, because it was a baby, and I identify with that because I lost a full-term, stillborn baby boy many years ago who would have been an adult today, and I wonder how would Joshua have turned out, because he was named. Would he have been married? Would I have had grandchildren from him? So tell us how you felt about that.
Yeah, so the miscarriage happened a lot earlier for us, in the first trimester, and I remember, as I said earlier, feeling quite lonely.
Yes.
It's the loss. How do you process this loss? It's the loss of potential, what could have been, a life that hasn't yet been lived, but that we've been preparing for.
Oh.
And so I think the silence, if I can call it that, around miscarriage is because it is quite difficult to process as the mother who's lost a child, and so you don't always know how to relate around it, how to talk about it.
Yes.
But it's also, I think, because it's unseen, other people also don't know how to talk about it. So I think this kind of conversation will help a lot, I think, to come alongside women who have experienced this.
Exactly.
This kind
it
of
should be
loss.
ongoing conversations around
Absolutely.
miscarriage and the loss of a stillborn child.
Absolutely.
so that people can know how you feel, how I feel,
Yes.
and we can then identify with other sisters and women about how they would be feeling after the loss of a baby.
Exactly. And I think that, when we all know that through talking comes healing. So it's nothing special that you have to do. It's just allow the person who is going through that loss the space to talk about it and to make it real. Because sometimes you feel like, is this real? Is this really happening?
Did it happen to me?
Did it happen to me?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. And then, Karen, we move on from that, and then the loss of a parent.
That's correct. We spoke about all the different losses, and this is one of the losses that I also experienced as an adult, as a married woman, as a mother. But I think what struck me is that no matter when it happens in your life, whether you're a child or you're an adult, the loss of a parent really shakes your world. It rocks your world. This is we're talking about my dad. He's the strong man in your life.
Very strange sense of humor he had.
Very strange sense of humor, I give you that.
Lots of urban legends.
Yes, lots
Loved
of
those stories.
conspiracy theories.
Exactly.
Conspiracy theories, exactly. And so, I remember that as a time again, also to reflect. I mean, obviously you're going through those initial days when you just, again, disbelief. Has it really happened? His death was sudden. You know that. He had challenges, health challenges, but it was well managed. So also a sudden, unexpected passing. And but it just afforded me again time to reflect on who Dad was.
Yes.
I think one of the things that struck me was that you don't really know your parents. Especially he was a quiet person.
Yeah.
He loved engaging, but he didn't really chat about his history.
Yes.
And I think that has also this is one of the reasons I think this platform is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So one day,
we're encouraging people to tell their stories, tell our stories.
And our kids can look back on this and have some sense of who we are.
And learn from it.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
But anyway, getting back to Dad's death, it really gave me pause to reflect on the good and the bad memories. And I came out of that process with a real sense of gratitude for the man he was, warts and all.
Hardworking,
had our back.
Yes.
I knew, much like with Mark, I knew that I could go to him with the strangest request.
Yes.
I remember how he picked up a phone one day and called a professor at UWC. He didn't know this man from a bar of soap. I needed help with applying to university. I didn't know what to do. And he just did this for me. He spoke to a strange man.
Amazing.
And so, I think often, and maybe this is a sad thing, that we only use those opportunities to reflect on what people have meant for us, and especially with my dad passing and what he meant for me.
And I remember when you were in the market to buy a house and you found this amazing house that you wanted. You picked up the phone and called Dad and said, please come and have a look with Hugo and I and tell us what you think and feel.
Yes.
And then with one of the major renovations, I think he project managed the renovations on your house.
He did.
And then that was actually passed on, if you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, exactly.
With the story. But then Mom came to live with you. And so tell us about the challenges you're having with Mom.
So Mom came to live with us immediately after, or shortly after Dad died. And in that same year, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's, I've come to realize, is a loss that you live with for a long time. So it's an ongoing grieving process, because you're dealing with the loss of somebody whom you've known to be a particular way.
Well, yes.
And now has lost so much executive functioning, memory.
Yes.
and there's a complete role reversal. So whereas mom cared for me all my life,
And for your children,
and for my
great
children,
support for your children.
and for my siblings and their
Yes.
children, very much involved in their lives, I find myself now caring for mom
her.
in ways that I could not have imagined. And Hugo, my husband, really helped me understand the turmoil I was experiencing a few years ago. And he put it into these words that has helped me make sense of what I feel sometimes. He said that you are grieving. Mom is still here,
Yes.
but the woman you knew as mom is no longer that woman. And so, it's been
challenging yet kind of rewarding.
It's been rewarding. In one way, the one way it's been rewarding is mom. Mom, she's this gracious, content, patient woman. And those are qualities I didn't necessarily inherit from her.
And quiet disposition.
Quiet disposition. And especially the patience is a characteristic, character trait that I have admired and longed for all my life. I'm a very impatient woman, and got that from my dad. But it's amazing how patience doesn't fall into your lap. It develops. On the job. And especially during lockdown last year, there was a time when I really battled with the everyday care of mum. And I remember literally on the job doing the things that I found so challenging, praying and saying, Lord, change my heart.
Soften my heart.
Soften my heart towards this incredible woman who did this for me. And
what an honor and what a privilege it is.
And today I can say that even when I do those difficult tasks, it's a privilege. I catch myself often thinking, wow, Lord, a year ago or a couple of months ago, this was so difficult. But he's answered that prayer, and so I'm very grateful.
I love that. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such an incredible daughter. So, Carden, we're going to touch on a more sensitive topic right now, on loss and death. Sensitive for me, emotional for you. The death of a sibling. Tell us about the death of your brother and the passing of your brother and my husband. How that rocked both our worlds, but how it rocked your world as a sister.
So, firstly, I just want to say that, and I've realized that this is not necessarily everybody's experience, but my siblings are amazing. We have a tight relationship. We are involved in each other's lives, and we love being together. And
I know that.
You know that. And I think it's also dawned on me that is not something to be taken for granted. I can't take that for granted. It's not everybody's story, not everybody's reality. And so I just want to take a moment to express gratitude for that. And so when we got that call, it was, I think I was overcome with disbelief. That was my first reaction. This can't be. Surely this cannot be. I'd spoken to him the night before. And that set the trend for those first weeks, especially that very first week when we all needed to go into isolation because you were diagnosed with COVID and we had spent the day with you. And in that quiet space, I was in my bedroom. The family Hugo had moved out. The kids were picnicking outside my
bedroom
door, just so that I could hear them and see them.
And process what has just happened, your great loss
of a rock, one of the rocks in my life. So yeah, disbelief initially, and just a sense of deep, deep loss of somebody who meant the world to me, who meant the world to me. He brought so much into my life, and let's be honest, nobody's perfect.
Absolutely.
I don't. He made me very cross at times. I remember as a young as a young girl, he would tickle me until I could no more.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of relationship we had. I mean, he's 5 years older than me, so
Yes.
I was little. He was a teenager going through different phases of lives. But
And when we think back now on your childhood and your fondest memories you shared with me about his generous heart.
his generosity, one of the first memories of that particular trait that he's carried throughout his life was around Christmas. And you know how we absolutely love Christmas.
We do big
We do.
Christmas.
We do big Christmases. And at that particular time, I can't remember how old I was, but I remember we didn't really receive necessarily gifts, but my parents would buy us clothes. Now, you also know how I love clothes. And that year, our parents told us that unfortunately they wouldn't be able to give us what they normally give us. And so, because of whatever difficult circumstances, and Mark went to our parents and he said, "Don't worry with me. Give my allocation to my sisters." Now, if that is not generosity, if that is not kindness,
I know.
then what is?
Kindness had a name.
And if kindness had a story, I think that would be that story.
Yes.
And so yeah, and I think he's carried that with him throughout. I think there are many people who can attest to his generosity, kindness.
And we heard that at his at the eulogy, at his memorial. People remembered him as being hospitable, a real giver, a generous heart, and of course he loved his friends and he loved his family, just as big. And then you have a story that we shared about how he supported you through Mom's health and a declining and the diagnosis with dementia and Alzheimer's, and he came in and like a big brotherhood. And
so obviously the daily care, Mom lives with me, so that's my responsibility. But what I loved was that I could bounce concerns off him. I could go to him with certain concerns. Did you see that Mom's struggling with this? And then he would, this is obviously in the time when Glenn wasn't here yet. Both of my siblings I can do that with. But especially, he obviously, he was a very organized man.
Yeah.
And so just recently I was struck again by the big gaping hole that his passing left in my life. And that's the role of organizing our holidays.
Yes.
So very kindly, both Glenn and Mark recognized that I needed some time out.
Yes, yes.
And so before, especially Christmas holidays, Easter holidays, he would come there, he would phone me and say, "Sis, we need to get together, we need to chat about the holidays." And Mom, he would come with his folder and his diary.
Yeah.
And we would compare dates. And just this past Easter, I just woke up on Good Friday and realized I had not made arrangements for that day, and it just broke me because I knew it wouldn't have happened if Mark was still there. And so still here, and so a big gaping hole, always there, always the first to call on our birthdays.
Because he was an early riser. That is such a trait of...
I know. My kids' birthdays, never forgot any birthday. And just the reliability of a big brother who deeply cared for Mom as well, and shared that emotional burden and then practical burden as well. Yeah, and I miss him coming to visit mom.
Yes.
I miss that. He is, like I said when we chatted before, he's one of two people who can make mom laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Well, one's my husband with his funny stories, and then Mark just had
He's
this
also
rapport.
dry sense of humor.
Absolutely. Mom and Mark just had this incredible rapport, always built on humor and just a deep love, a love that invited people in,
Yeah.
never excluded anybody, but just a special bond that I was aware of. I mean, anybody who knew them when Mark was still living at home,
Yeah.
the bond was just there. My son, that
Yes,
kind
my
of thing.
firstborn.
My firstborn
Yeah,
son.
yeah.
And
I know he had an incredible relationship with his mother.
and during lockdown, he would, he'd send us these funny videos.
Yes.
Of Pentecostal
Gospels.
chorus
Yes,
singing
yes.
and golden oldies.
Because he knew mom would relate.
Yes.
Even though she has Alzheimer's, a long-term memory, she
Loves
related
music.
to that. She loved
Yes.
music.
Yes.
And
And those messages of encouragement. I mean, I wish I had the opportunity to tell him just how much it meant. During lockdown especially, he would text me, message me and say, thanks sis for taking such good care of mom.
I know.
And I wish that I had the opportunity to thank him for those messages of encouragement.
Karen, you did an amazing eulogy at his memorial, which I and many of us would be forever grateful. And it came through in that your thanks and the loss and the of your big brother. So as we take a breath, we talk about the hat that you wear.
Yes.
You are the founder and the organizer, the co-founder and organizer of an amazing organization called IseeU. And as we wrap up and end, because we always want to leave our viewers on a great and positive note and a great story. So despite the losses and the grief and the sorrow that we still experience, and how did we even journey for 8 months, Kari? Tell us about IseeU.
So, IseeU, co-founded with a very good friend of mine, Haley Philander, and founded on, funnily enough, issues we had, obstacles we saw, problems we identified in a particular community, a community that I come from, that you come from, the Cape Flats community.
Yeah, and an impoverished
community. A marginalised community where young people literally are hopeless. We spoke about hope. What gives me hope? Hope for me is living in the light of God's promises. Hope for me is waking up in the morning and knowing that there's life. Where there's life, there's purpose. Hope for me is experiencing God's love through people. You talk about your tribe. I refer to those in my inner circle as bouquets. Bouquets of blessing. And who can't but find hope in God's expression of love through his people. Hope for me is witnessing, and this is where IseeU comes in, witnessing people seeing their value.
But women especially.
Women, exactly. Thank you. IseeU is about women. We work with young women on the Cape Flats at school between grades, from grade 10 to grade 12. And our vision is to help these girls see, accept, embrace their value and their worth. Because every person created by God has value and worth.
Absolutely.
Some of us take longer to see that. And so our vision is, and our motivation is to inspire these young women, to equip them so that they can explore their value, explore opportunities so they can thrive and live purposeful lives.
I like that. Strive to live purposefully.
Exactly.
And that goal setting can happen. It can materialize. It can be realized.
Not even just goal setting, one step further, that they are valuable. They can aspire to opportunities that they don't necessarily see.
Worthy.
That they are worthy. Absolutely. And therefore, the name IseeU, not the ICU in the hospital, but that I see you. And it was born out of our pilot in 2014, where one of the 3 participants in her feedback said, for the first time ever, I felt heard and I felt seen. And our name was born. I see you. I see the you that maybe you don't see.
Yeah.
And that's what motivates me to get up, to
Dress up, to make up,
and to show up. So I'm coining a phrase, or using a phrase that you coined. I love it.
And so the idea is to take this woman from where they are, the situation that they're in, and to
Journey with
them.
So it's a mentoring program.
It's
a mentoring program. And so that's what we do. We journey with them where they're at and hope to upskill them and equip them.
Rhonda Julie Nelson, thank you for sharing your story on this platform. Thank you for what you're doing in our community. And thank you for journeying with me through great love, great loss, and great hope.
Thank you, Rhonda.
I thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, won't you please like, share, and subscribe? See you the next time on the set of My Story.